officially the shortest person on this panel, I say. We agreed by a sort of a mutual aggression pact not to make a PowerPoint. I was slightly into mine, so I thought I might throw up one slide that I think does a good job of. Oh, there we go.
You violated the pact.
I violated the pact, but I thought
there's always one.
A nice way to frame this
now, right?
entire conversation. Because this is a sort of statement from Trump that I think really gets to the heart of one of the things we're talking about, which is how do we hold Trump accountable when he's trying to gaslight the entire country? He'll decry the work that the four of us do and our organizations, the work that everyone in this room does, as fake news, no matter its qualities and its merits. And I think Sapan is totally right. We have to really not fall into the trap of listening to that screed from Trump. And I think to this point, the fake media, not the real media, whatever that is, has gotten things even worse since the election. I don't think that's true. I think there were some real failings in coverage leading up to the election, but I think by and large, the media is doing a better job than ever, and a lot of people were doing a great job along the way. The lessons that I think that we all learned from the election season is not to engage in false equivalency. Don't follow the pack. Don't be afraid of pushback from Trump and for others. If you know you have a great story, you got to stick on it and not kind of fall prey to people's motives, political or otherwise, to push back on the narratives that you're putting forward. At Mother Jones, we had 3 storylines that we did sooner and deeper than others that I think have really come to the fore and kind of intertwined. The rise of the extreme far right hate groups. The incredible tendency and capacity for Trump and his family to engage in corruption and their debts to foreign banks and possibly others. Though you may have heard otherwise, David Corn, our DC bureau chief, was the first to report on the existence of the Russian dossier. And I think these strands, none of us really know where this whole story about Trump and corruption and maybe the Russians or maybe just incompetence is going. But those were very important things to report on along the way. And I'm really proud of the work that we did there. I think another thing that we at Mother Jones learned in what was a really seminal year for us is sometimes you've got to do pieces that you take great risks to do. Those risks can be personal, they can be professional. In our case, we sent a reporter, Shane Bauer, undercover in a private prison for 4 months. And it was an amazing piece. It was a kind of terrifying piece to oversee. But the result is we got a much better sense of a prison economy that is going to come into the fore, unfortunately, I think more now that Trump is trying to ramp up a detention system for immigrants and others. But finally, I'd like to kind of end on a note of being accountable to readers and having readers be accountable to us. I think that Sopan is right. Some of the best work Farnhold, Sopan himself, and others did in this election season was really showing their work, telling readers why we're doing things, how we're establishing the sources that we're establishing, why we're taking this cut through a storyline, and really just being honest and forthright with them, giving credit where credit is due to other organizations and reporters, acknowledging the good work by people whose ideology you might not essentially share. And I think when you do that, you really see readers respond. We certainly have seen that. We got the Trump bump, but even before that, we started to really explain to our readers what it took to do these big undercover investigations, how much it cost us, and just what it felt like to produce things like that. And so I'll end on a story of this woman, Margaret, who was a recently retired Park Service employee who spent her whole life with her husband, who's been deceased for a while, cutting and maintaining trails, doing wildlife maintenance, that kind of a thing. And she had been reading our explanations along the way. She discovered she and her husband had bought this piece of property she had totally forgotten about. Took her a while to sold it. A few days after the election, her check cleared. She literally walked miles and miles into her town, said, if I send a big check, will you honor it? And the bank said, yeah. So she stuck a check in one of those crazy reader envelopes that you see magazines like ours sometimes have. a check was for $75,000. And when I called her to express gratitude and just amazement and heard her story, she's really living, basically on a fixed income, how she would be so generous. She's like, I don't need more things. I need more truth, and I need more people fighting for the truth. And I think that when we make our value proposition to readers about the importance of what we do, that there are 40% less journalists than there were 10 years ago, that accepting in a few places like Texas, where Evan's doing such great work, state house and local journalism has been annihilated, which is why we don't see some early warning signals out there in the heartland maybe of things of unhappiness and discord and the opioid epidemic and all the rest. It really is incumbent upon us to tell readers what we're doing and why, and I think in response they will meet us in turn.